yeah. Is it Saturday already? Have we made it through yet another week of Star Wars news? And as I mentioned on Thursday, December 11th, 2025 will go down as one of the greatest days in Star Wars history, at least in terms of Star Wars news, as we got a new Darth Maul prequel to the series Maul Shadow Lord comic series announced. Disney invested over $1 billion into OpenAI, and we got two, not just one, but two new Star Wars video games announced at the Game Awards of 2025. So we got to watch these trailers. Fate of the Old Republic, Galactic Racer. Oh my goodness. Are we living it up here as Star Wars fans? But without further ado, let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fine Saturday afternoon? We got trailers to watch today. Not trailers to watch today for the Fate of the Old Republic and Star Wars Galactic Racer, which so many people are just kind of, not talking about at all because, yes, the Fate of the Old Republic was a huge deal, and I get it. It's awesome, and we're going to talk about it. But there have been some false reports, fake reports, fake news, if you will, about this Fate of the Old Republic game, talking about how it's going to come out on after 2030, after on the PlayStation 7. I don't know how this happens, but people just don't use their brains half the time, and stuff like that goes mega viral, and people just, talk about bad news in Star Wars. It's just not even true. No aspect of it is true. Not the 2030, not the PlayStation 7. If you do simple math, it clearly doesn't work. So we'll talk about that in a second. But we got trailers to watch, to break down, to get hyped up about. I'm excited. So before we dive into any of that, though, let's say hi to everybody in the chat. Shall we? John Groom, how we doing? Brandon Baker in the house. Steve, what is up? Jared on TV, how we doing? Darth Plagueis lives in the house. RG, what is up? Mando United, how we doing? Another Mike who loves Star Wars, what is up? Nathan in the building. Cleve Morris, what is up? The Fight of Faith, how we doing? Lobo in the building. Giver, how we doing? Steve, what is up? Ghost Rider in the house. All right, if I missed you, you know the deal. Just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little,
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
All right, so let's start with, well, I'll ask you guys, what game should we start with first? We do have Fate of the Old Republic and Galactic Racer, so tell me in the chat which one do you want to start with first. But we actually have some pretty big Star Wars Starfighter news as well, as Matt Smith gave us sort of our first look, I suppose, at the upcoming villain of the movie and what his character might actually look like. So we do have to talk about some Starfighter later on in the live stream. I know we have two new trailers today, but we do have to talk about Starfighter because that's pretty big as well. So which game do you want to start with, Jet? Which game do you want to start with? Fate of the Old Republic or Galactic Racer? You tell me in the chat. And while you do, let me actually put up a poll in said chat. I'm going to end this one, which just says smash a freaking like in the stream, because if you haven't already, I don't know what the hell you're waiting for. Smash a like in the stream. All right, let's do that, and let's put this poll up. Which game are you more excited for? Fate of the Old Republic or Galactic Racer? Now, keep in mind that Galactic Racer comes out next year in 2026, and Fate of the Old Republic might not come out for at least another 3 years. So keep that in mind as you vote on that poll. Which one are you more excited for? The game that comes out next year or the game that you're going to have to wait for? Personally, I think the story-wise, of course, Fate of the Old Republic wins 10 times out of 10. However, it's very much a recency thing. I'm very excited for Ahsoka Season 2, but the fact that Maul Shadow Lord is likely much closer gets me more excited for that. It's, give or take. However, tell me in the chat, which one are you more excited for, and which one are we starting with? I'm seeing a lot of racer actually to get it over with. Okay, let's start with the racer then. Galactic Racer. I have been seeing a lot of that where people are like, because of the Fate of the Old Republic announcement, it's not that big a deal with this whole Galactic Racer thing. And I could not disagree more. One of the biggest Star Wars games of all time is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, the pod racing game that this is pretty much kind of a remake of, in a way, with similar planets and characters and all that. But Star Wars, I mean, it's everything in one. You can have racing games like Mario Kart, Need for Speed with this game. You can have story-driven character RPGs like Fate of the Old Republic. You can have multiplayer crazy battle like Battlefield or Call of Duty with Battlefront. Like, it has everything in one. And this racing game is, honestly, got me really excited. If Fate of the Old Republic's trailer didn't drop yesterday, I think more people would be talking about it. So, enough of me talking about it. Let's watch the trailer and let's talk about it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Galactic Racer? Tell me in the chat. And while you do, let's watch this trailer. Actually, should we start with the trailer? Yeah, let's start with the trailer. Let's start with the trailer.
Back.
Hang on. Wait. There we go.
I want it back. The way it was before the Empire shut it down. Massive engines. Lightning fast. Lives on the line. The pilots were incredible. Best of the best. United by one beautiful dream. The galaxy needs racing!
It's so hard to not to watch that trailer and not get excited. Like, both trailers we're watching today almost look like scenes from movies. I guess Fate of the Old Republic more so, but even that, like those speeder bike / pod race scenes where they're blowing up, that is awesome. The fact that you're getting, like, in Mario Kart, sure, I'll get to that super chat in 1 sec. In Mario Kart, sure, you can get hit by a red shell and you spin out. You're talking about a pod race actually exploding in front of your eyes. It's really, really cool. Now, a few things going on here. One, it takes place after the original trilogy, but before the sequels. So as you can see, Jakku right here. Let's get a better look at it there. Wait.
I want it.
So this is Jakku, the planet that we first start off with Rey in The Force Awakens. But this is before all of that. So it's after the Empire's fall, but before the sequel trilogy. That time period sounds familiar. That's where the Mandoverse takes place. So this game actually coincides with the events of the Mandoverse. So that's where it takes place in the timeline. And what has me the most excited of this? Can anybody guess what has me the most excited about this game? Anybody? Anybody? Why does everybody want to go back to Jakku? That's a great one. Yeah, true. What do we think? Saboba. Yeah, Saboba being back is cool. Sure. Whatever. Him, I want to see, what we really want to see in this game is him and Ben Quaternaros and their sort of rivalry that they had during the years of the Clone Wars, but this is way after that, so I don't know. No. Saboba's cool, yeah, but no, that's not what has me hyped up. No. it's Jakku. No, not that it's Jakku either. Ties to Rey Skywalker. No, no. Nobody's guessing it. Fine. That's the best time period for new content, in my opinion. It's not a bad place. The aesthetic, sure, the aesthetic is good, but that's not it. No. It's funny that both of these games announced were spiritual successors to games that fans loved. That is kind of funny. You're talking about the Fate of the Old Republic being a spiritual successor to the old Knights of the Old Republic, and this game pretty much being a spiritual successor to Episode 1 racing, or Episode 1 pod racing game. Yeah, true. There it is. The Typhoonian multiplayer. This is a multiplayer game.
This is where the fun begins.
I have been begging for years for a multiplayer Star Wars game, and I say it all the time. I love the Cal Kestis games, the Jedi games. I loved Star Wars Outlaws, the open worldedness of it. Kay Vess is a underrated character because she gets so much shit from crazy Star Wars fans. I love me some KOTOR. I love me all the single player games in Star Wars. I love it. However, there has not been a multiplayer game since Battlefront 2, which is now 8 years old. Hasn't gotten a new update in over 5 years. So we've been lacking a lot of multiplayer content as Star Wars fans because me personally, I want to play with other Star Wars fans. That's why that's why you see the Battlefront 2 lobbies peaking in 2025. Back in May and now in December, people want to play Star Wars and they want a multiplayer game. So the fact that this is multiplayer, this Galactic Racing, is really, really cool. So there is a campaign to the game, and our main character's name is Shade. If I can find him really quickly.
We're incredible! Best of the best!
This is our main character, Shade. So there is a campaign to the game where you will have to, become the best racer in the galaxy, and there's some sort of revenge going on. We'll read the description in a second. But there is a campaign. However, the multiplayer, what I imagine, and it has not been confirmed yet, but what I imagine this game to be is you can choose from pretty much any speeder bike, any pod racer that you've seen in Star Wars. From the one that Han Solo is driving on Corellia, which you do see in this trailer, to Luke Skywalker's speeder that he takes across to Mos Eisley, which, by the way, where does the speeder go from there? Luke doesn't come back. Like, who just takes claim of his speeder? That's besides the point. To speeder bikes from Endor, to pod racers in the pod race in Phantom Menace, you can choose from any of those, fully customize them, upgrade them, and do all this great stuff in a full multiplayer game where you can customize your character, your pod racer, and make them look like whatever you want, any species, any accessories, anything. It could be, and again, I'm just spitballing here what I hope the game will look like. It could be so unbelievably cool. I love Mario Kart, of course. I played the Need for Speed games, but a really long time ago. I love me some fully customizable, for example, Rocket League. I love playing Rocket League. It's a multiplayer game. It's car soccer. It's whatever. But you can fully customize your car. And this is what I imagine that to be. You choose whatever speeder you want from Star Wars, customize the color, customize the style, whatever, and you have a character who's driving that who you can also fully customize. That's what I imagine this game to be in a multiplayer world, which is awesome. Now let's take a look at the description itself from StarWars.com. Wait, what? That's not it. Hang on one sec. So this is the description that came out along with the game. Let's see if I can't find this really quickly. I thought it's on StarWars.com, isn't it? Aha, there it is. Found it. Okay. We are going back to Jakku in the trailer for Star Wars Galactic Racer. So here is the description that came out with it. You can almost You can almost feel the Jakku sun beating down on your face as you round the bend, navigating between the downed Star Destroyer and what's left of an AT-AT in the graveyard of giants. Honestly, just that first line right there. The Battle of Jakku is a great thing that we haven't seen yet in animation or live action. It is in comics and books. But the opening of Rey's character on Jakku with the fallen, Star Destroyers and almost a graveyard of just battle is awesome. So getting to see that up close in a race is going to be awesome. A familiar location from The Force Awakens, a popular haunt of scavengers like Rey in later years, because this takes place before it, has been transformed into the unsanctioned racetrack, because the Empire is now gone, for the new video game Star Wars Galactic Racer, just announced tonight at 2025's Game Awards. I didn't know this. I actually just saw this before I went live today. Did you know that the Game Awards last year, and I believe this year too, had more viewers than the Super Bowl? Other than, for at least the United States, the most viewed sporting event, and I know there's soccer and the World Cup makes it look like a child's play, but for the most viewed American sport, it's the Super Bowl. And the Game Awards beat it. That's wild. Okay. Oh wait, I forgot to get to that super chat. One sec. Darth Plagueis lives with a very generous $5 holla. God damn, I appreciate that quite a bit. Says, oh wait, where did it just go? What the hell? Just disappeared. Oh, there it is. So hyped. It's truly a great time to be a Star Wars fan. Oh, it really is. On Thursday, we got 2 new games announced. A new prequel series to Maul Shadow Lord. And, I guess, whether you take it as good news or not, Disney invested $1 billion into OpenAI. There hasn't been a show, like an actual season of a show, since May with Andor Season 2. I guess you could argue Rebuild the Galaxy and Visions Volume 3, but those all come out on the same day, and that's it's not a week-to-week basis show type deal. There hasn't been a real week-to-week show since May. And we're still sitting here in December getting insane amount of news with 2 new trailers, a new prequel series, and just even more crazy news. Wild. But I appreciate the super chat. I really, really do. It is a wild time to be a Star Wars fan. That's for damn sure. Okay, well, let's keep reading. We watched the trailer already, but let's keep going. Along with the reveal of an exciting first new trailer, which you can watch below, Fuse Games, so that's the company that's making it, co-founder Matt Webster and VP and GM of Lucasfilm Gaming, Douglas Riley, sat down with StarWars.com for a trailer breakdown, including hints that Saboba, about Saboba's stinger, because you do hear his iconic sound. If I can pull this up real quick. Just listen for Saboba's epic pod race. I mean, come on. Okay, but continuing. And a closer look at new characters, locations, and vehicles to come, because Jakku is not the only location in this game. It gets pretty wild from there. So racing has been in his DNA of storytelling for Star Wars since the very start. My favorite hobby, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's get to the good stuff here. Blah, 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 blah. Yes. So, in addition to the great work on our project, they have been industry leaders in some of the most beloved racing franchises in Need for Speed and Burnout. I can't think of any other studio better suited to bring Star Wars racing back to the fans. We haven't had a Star Wars racing game in many, many moons. Many moons. Yes, there was this Battlefront 2 mode, but you really got to go back to the early 2000s to see the last Star Wars actual racing game on consoles and PC. So the fact that the guys working on this game are the same people, for the most part, who worked on Need for Speed and Burnout, is pretty exciting. But here we go. This is where we get introduced to our campaign character. In the first trailer, we meet a new character named Shade, a lone racer with a dream of glory and revenge. The revenge thing, of course, ties into what this plot of the campaign will be. Who his revenge is on? Probably Saboba, if I were to guess, keeping him the villain of the series. But I would love to see, as they had a rivalry in the Clone Wars, as I mentioned before, under this mask be Ben Quaternaros. Now that's kind of difficult because Ben was a weirdly shaped man. Let's be honest, he has some weird shapes, but I'm assuming we'll never see under the mask anyway, because you're supposed to be a mysterious character because you're playing as him, and it doesn't really matter. But coming down the ramp to join the pad dock on Jakku, look very closely, and you may even see a flock of steel peckers surveying the landscape. Players will learn more about Shade as they progress through the game's campaign. Your aim is to survive long enough to earn your shot to become an elite racing pilot, Webster says. Our races are high-stakes competitions where racers do everything that they can to get in front in a solo campaign and in our awesome multiplayer gameplay. So yes, cool, high-stakes solo campaign, but what has me more excited is the awesome multiplayer gameplay. So we're not going to read all of this because it's just, interview of whatever, but there's a few things that I want to talk about. One, the planets. So Jakku, of course, we know, right there, boom, Jakku. And this other planet is called Endo Prime. Can anybody tell me why Endo Prime is important, chat? Anybody? Anybody? Okay, I can get behind a solo campaign. I don't think my friends will want to play this with me, LOL. Well, I will, Cole. I will. The people who love Star Wars will all play it together. Yeah. From the OG pod racing game, I saw your video. Oh, spoiler alert! No, yeah. So from the original Episode 1 racing game, from what year did that game come out? Hang on, let's look it up. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Release date. 1999. Okay, so April 30th, 1999 was when this game released. This game right here. And as you can see, actually, from this image, perfect, this right here is Endo Prime. This icy planet is indeed Endo Prime, and I mean, look at the graphics. It's so funny because when you imagine this game in your head, when you imagine all those old games, even like KOTOR, when you imagine it in your head, you don't really imagine the graphics being this bad. Like, this is bad. Obviously, at the time, I'm sure it was state of the art. I wasn't even alive, so I wouldn't know, but I have played the game, so I guess I do know. But now, look at it. Oh, the upgrades. Oh, the upgrades. It looks like a little bit better. Just a few more frames, just a few more pixels going on here. But we have some other images as well. Let's go down to the bottom here. Yeah, take a look at this. This is Jakku. Jakku, Endo Prime. Jakku again. As you can see, crashed speeder bikes on the side. This is our main guy here, Shade. In what looks to be, I'm guessing, like the main hub, where he's probably tinkering with his speeder or whatever. Or there's a crashed X-Wing right there, which is badass as hell. Again, Endo Prime. Endo Prime yet again. And back on Jakku, Shade is there as well. There is one other planet, I believe, that's in the trailer. If we go back to it. It's early on, I believe.
The way it was.
This. So this planet with the sort of like acid-looking stuff here. This is where the game comes to an end, I believe. I believe it tells us in this article right here. What I'm assuming is going to happen here is it's going to start with these 2 planets, or maybe 3 planets. And as the game gets updates, a lot of those updates are going to be new maps. And those new maps will be new planets. So you're going to probably get a big old update for a Tatooine one because the Bunta Eve Classic, of course. Uh, let's talk about Saboba before we move on here. Galactic Racer is filled with new characters and locations, like Sentinel 1, revealed in the trailer for the first time. It's the home to the Skaganoan? Sure. Listening station built on the vast planetary scale with large antenna littering the landscape. This is also a toxic wasteland that has been plundered for minerals and bright yellow rivers of acid. So that's what this is right here, this planet. That's what we were talking about there. There. And beyond Jakku, the trailer promises to reunite fans. What the heck? Okay, weird. My screen just went black for a second there. You reunite fans with the dastardly Doug, that's his species, who tried to cheat his way to the Bunta Eve Classic title against Anakin Skywalker, Saboba. There is so much love for Saboba on the team and across the Star Wars community, even though he's the villain. There are particular reasons why he finds his way into the trailer, as well as a detail in his shot that may lead to even more questions, the answers of which we will leave for another time. So the audio being his pod race, which I assume the final big battle in the campaign or final big race in the campaign will be against Saboba, and it might be pretty difficult. One of the hardest levels in any video game I've ever played in my life is the pod racing of Lego Star Wars. It's ridiculous. But maybe that's because I was a child and bad at video games. I don't know. Either way, I'm sure they'll make this very difficult as well, because Saboba is the top dog when it comes to pod racing. Hopefully we'll see some other familiar faces too, like Ben Quaternaros. Only time will tell. If we get Ben Quaternaros in this game, it'll be an instant 10 out of 10. Could not agree with you more. Could not agree with you more. Yeah. Okay. So that's the fun when it comes to Star Wars Galactic Racer. It is sort of like somebody mentioned earlier, a spiritual successor to that episode 1 racing game, with planets that are similar and, of course, just updated graphics, because we don't want to see a game that looks like this. Or at least I don't. So it's going to be very similar to this game, but I'm hoping fully customizable speeders. You can choose whatever speeder you want, whether it's from Endor or a pod race or anything in between. And we get new maps with a multiplayer that comes out over time. And that comes out, by the way, in 2026. So the reason I'm so excited for this game is this release date, coming in 2026. Now, I don't know when in 2026, because we do have another game coming out next year, which is Zero Company, which I don't think has a release date. Does Zero Company have a release date? Somebody help me out in the chat. I'm not quite sure. However, it's funny that Saboba outlived Anakin. I didn't even think of that. I did not even think of that. That's kind of funny. Yeah, Saboba outlives Anakin because he's long dead at this point. True. True. Hopefully Saboba will cheat and sabotage stuff. Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. Mike, when I found out that there was going to be a new racer design called Sand Skimmer, I immediately thought we need Cara Dune to pilot one of those things because we know how much she loves speed. Oh, okay. Zero Company, all right, I'm going to be honest. Zero Company comes out next year, and so does this game. In terms of how they line up hype-wise for me, Zero Company is all the way down here, and Galactic Racer is all the way up here. I'm just not really a fan of that style of video game that Zero Company is, the turn-based tactics game. I'm not a big fan of those types of games. So I know a lot of people are, so great on you. But I'm way more excited for this. Not only does it have a multiplayer, but it's a racing game in Star Wars, which is just awesome. So I'm way more excited for this one. Zero Company does not have a release date. Okay, thank you. Zero Company does not have a release date, but it does come out in 2026. So both of these games coming out in 2026. I assume one will come out early in the year and another one later in the year. I'm guessing Zero Company is the earlier one and this one's probably later. But I'm sure we'll get a release date sometime soon. But that was our first trailer. Star Wars Galactic Racer. Now, what we've all been waiting for. The title card of the night. With over 1.9, almost 1.9 million views on YouTube. The Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. Now let's just watch the trailer first, okay? Let's just watch it first, and then we'll get hyped up and talk about it. Is it canon? Is it not canon? How does it connect to the Knights of the Old Republic? All that great stuff. But let's watch the trailer first. Let's just watch it first. I mean, come on. Tell me in the chat on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for this game? Wow. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. This came out of nowhere. We were all assuming that we were going to get a trailer or gameplay or something along the lines of that with the Knights of the Old Republic remake, which was announced over 4 years ago. However, we did not get that. No, we got a brand new game called Fate of the Old Republic announced from the same creator. Now, the reason that they specify who is directing this. The game's director is Casey Hudson. Now, the reason that that's important is because Casey Hudson not only made incredible, all-time great games like the Mass Effect trilogy, but he's also the man, the myth, the legend who created the original KOTOR game. Knights of the Old Republic from 2003, 22 years ago, he made that game. He was the director of that game as well. So, talk about great news. Yes, the Knights of the Old Republic remake is still on the back burner for now, but this is where the fun begins.
This is where the fun begins.
You couldn't ask for a more perfect situation. The man who created the first game is back to do this new one, and it's a spiritual successor to Knights of the Old Republic. Now, let's talk about that. So, obviously, the KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2 games are both legends. Now, it has not been confirmed as to whether or not this game will be canon or not, Fate of the Old Republic, that is. But I believe it is. I'm about 98% sure. The 2% is just like, hopefully I am, that's, last tiny little bit of maybe it's Legends, but I don't see them doing that. Every game, every show, every movie that they've made other than Star Wars Visions is canon since Disney bought the company 13 years ago. So it wouldn't really make sense for them to make an Old Republic game that isn't an actual sequel or continuation of the KOTOR story if it's not canon. So I think it is canon. Let's start there. But the fact that it is a spiritual successor to the game is very, very important. Because not only is it the same creator, but it's likely going to be very similar characters in canon. Now, let me get to this super chat real quick, and then we'll read the description that we got along with this game, because it does give us a lot of information about what is to come. So, let me get to this super chat real quick. Another Mike who loves Star Wars with a very generous $5 holla, I appreciate that quite a bit, says, when they focus on the rain and water and the ship lights up, the graphics are so good that I had to change my shorts.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah, same. No, it is insane. The fact that this trailer looks this good, they did use the Unreal Engine 5 to create it, but some of the shots, like that rain falling one, are just incredible. I mean, look at that. And then as the ship comes down and it illuminates the light. It looks like a movie. Like, that looks real. Real. Which is absolutely wild. So, let's read the description and then we'll talk about the false reports that are going around about this game that have, made the fandom already lose their minds. Because we can't have anything good anymore in Star Wars because, everybody wants to go and ruin it. A great trailer like this comes out, and then the reports start spewing out everywhere of just fake news left and right. But we'll get to it in a second. So, let's read this. Star Wars, Fate of the Old Republic reveals with first trailer. I mean, that shot right there. This is not a real person. This is not a real person. This is digitally created. That's insane. The water droplets on her face. The eyes, the eyes are so hard to create. That looks more real than my eyes look right now. Maybe I'm not real. Did you ever think of that, Chad? Okay. Announced at the 2025 Game Awards, a new role-playing game, or RPG, from Arcanaut Studios. Now, you might not have heard of this studios because it's brand new, but we'll talk about it. And Lucasfilm game tell a all-new story, all new, helmed by accomplished game director Casey Hudson. So here we go. The Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic. Step into the role of a Force user, confirming our main character will be a Force user, on a journey through a galaxy on the edge of rebirth, at the end of the Old Republic. End. The end. Now, what's weird about this is, I would argue, at least from Legends and the information that we know, that the end of the Old Republic is Bane. Darth Bane, when he creates the Rule of Two, getting rid of all the other Sith Lords and pretty much extinguishing the flame of the dark side, in terms of the Jedi's point of view. The Sith are eliminated. And for the next 1,000 years, there is, quote-unquote, peace without the Sith being there. Now, that, I think, is the end of the Old Republic, because then you move into the High Republic and then into the prequel trilogy. However, that is all Legends. So things are likely to change as we get the canon story filled out. Now, what is a little strange to me is that they are starting at the end. It's just weird. If you're going to go tell the Old Republic story, if you're going to give us movies and shows and comics and novels and video games, all this stuff in the Old Republic era, it's a little strange to start at the end. Maybe not. Maybe this will be this girl who we will talk about who she could be in a second. I think she's a descendant of Bastila. I think she's a descendant of Revan and Bastila. One of their kids had kids, had kids, had kids, had kids, had kids, had kids. And this girl right here is great, 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 great. Grandfather is Revan. However, that could be the tie all the way back to those iconic characters that we know and love. And just like the Skywalker saga, make the Old Republic feel more connected with the characters through different generations. It would be like poetry. It rhymes. But still, it is odd that they're starting at the end of the story. Okay. The brand new epic narrative single-player action role-playing game from Arcanaut Studios, developed in collaboration with Lucasfilm Games, was announced on stage tonight at the year's Game Awards, along with a new first look at the thrilling trailer. It was announced that Fate of the Old Republic will be developed by the new studio launched by Casey Hudson, so he's in charge of the studio, the director of the original Knights of the Old Republic and the Mass Effect trilogy. So even if you haven't played Knights of the Old Republic, maybe you've played the Mass Effect trilogy and you know how great Casey Hudson is. But blending innovative storytelling, memorable characters, this is very important, and heart-pounding combat, Fate of the Old Republic will immerse you in an unforgettable experience where every decision deepens your journey towards the light or the darkness. That confirms a few things. One, we're seeing memorable characters. Darth Revan, Bastila, maybe even some Darth Malak in there. Heck, Nihilus if we're lucky. But saying that it's a spiritual successor to KOTOR makes me think Malak, Revan, Bastila, the main people. However, what it goes on to say is it immerses you in this unforgettable experience where every decision deepens your journey to the light or the dark, meaning this will be just like the KOTOR games, where the decisions that you make can put you down the dark path or put you down the light path. Now that becomes an issue. This brings up a massive issue for the future of Old Republic content. Because if I'm deciding where the story goes, and you guys probably would think that I'm going to go down to the dark side, and maybe I will. Maybe I will. However, if I'm deciding where this character goes, this female character right here, possibly a descendant of Revan, a Shan, if you will, if I get to decide where she goes, then what's going to be the canon? If this game is supposed to be canon, then how can I change that? When they come and tell a story about this character, they're going to have a solidified story. Does she go to the light or does she go to the dark? That has to be something that we know and that is clear. If you decide how it ends, it's not canon. It can't be, because could go completely two different ways. My version of this character and your version of this character could be completely different. That is a big issue there. I don't know how they'll go about fixing that or explaining that, but this is the first Old Republic game in canon, or first Old Republic anything in canon, and we get to decide how the story ends? A little strange. Cool, but strange. In the exclusive first interview on the forthcoming title, Hudson and VP and GM of Lucasfilm Games, Douglas Riley, he's back, sat down with StarWars.com to talk about the storied history of KOTOR and tease what we could expect from the new collaboration. So I will be reading this entire article word for word because every single word here is important. Maybe not everyone, but you know what I mean. The fact that this game is, one, so far away, but two, from the same creators as KOTOR, and could possibly give it us Revan for the first time in canon, we need to read all of it. When we developed the original KOTOR, like he's talking about it like it was like, just a normal Saturday. No. Talking one of the greatest video games of all time. In my humble Star Wars crazy opinion. We wanted to create a definitive Star Wars experience, crafting an adventure that consists of all things we dreamed of doing as Star Wars fans. Wielding a lightsaber, choosing the light or the dark, getting to decide your story in the Star Wars universe. That's what we all have imagined as kids. And that's what they got to do with that game. Now, 25 years later, 22 years later, we'll get to the release date in a little bit, but the reason I think it's going to be 2028 is because it's the 25th anniversary. It would just make sense. However, maybe it won't be done by then. Now, 22 years later, after we started working on that game, our aspirations are equally ambitious. And now, graphics and the ability to create wild stuff is through the roof. Fate of the Old Republic represents an opportunity to explore a contemporary vision of a definitive Star Wars experience. Using state-of-the-art technology and game design and all new story crafted specifically to deliver on our combination of player agency and immersion in Star Wars that was at the heart of KOTOR. So you're still getting what made the Knights of the Old Republic games so great, the not only writing of the story, of course, because you're getting the same director and writer with the game, but the fact that you got to decide what you got to do. The fact that it felt like you in Star Wars. You were Revan. You're getting that same experience with this game, too. Although Fate of the Old Republic is not a direct sequel or a continuation, it is not, which is very important because it could make this game canon. It is being built by people who helped shape that legacy, helped shape the first game. Throughout my 2 decades on working with Star Wars games, including Star Wars The Old Republic, I have been fortunate to see firsthand just how much these stories meant for our fans. For us, this new project is about honoring that legacy by creating something in the same tradition of a deep, cinematic, choice-driven role-playing game. Reuniting with Casey has been a tremendous honor, and we are pouring all of our shared passion and experience into building this next great chapter. That right there just got me, goosebumps, ridiculously hyped up. The fact that they're, taking all the greatness that came before, putting it into this project, and using that new technology to make it even better, it all sounds fantastic, even though it's not a direct sequel or continuation of that story. Yeah. Oh, by the way, let's take a second to take a look at this. This ship right here is a Interdictor class cruiser. And if that means nothing to you, that's perfectly fine. It was the cruiser of the Republic. So think like Venator or Star Destroyer of our time, of that time in the Old Republic. And it just so happens, like this is what it looked like in the Old Republic. So yeah, you see that, and then it's the same ship. You can see right there, that nice little giant C. So there you have it. That ship, the Interdictor class cruiser, was also the ship of, at one point, Darth Revan and Darth Malak, but during the time of the game, Darth Malak. And is it actually Darth Malak's ship here that's crashed? Probably not. Could just be any one of those Interdictor class cruisers. But the fact that it's the end of the Old Republic, it almost seems like these ships are probably phased out. And now this character is looking for something specific in this crash site, which could be anything from a Sith holocron to who knows what, as we go along with the story of the game. But there you have it, the really cool Easter egg of the Interdictor class cruiser. Let's continue. Creating clarity in a shared vision. After directing the original and beloved game, Hudson was eager to return to the galaxy, creating a new expression in the tradition of KOTOR, which released in 2003, 22 years ago, almost 23 years ago. Star Wars has been a very present force in my life. From the time that I saw the first movie in 1977 and throughout my career, where it's been a constant source of inspiration, Hudson says. It's hard to describe how excited it was to be able to work on in the Star Wars galaxy, contributing to the incredible legacy. We had so much fun working on the Knights of the Old Republic, and it was one of the defining experiences of my career, and still to this day, fans talk about it like it's the holy grail of Star Wars because it introduced us to so many different characters that we know and love and a different era in the Star Wars galaxy that we know and love. Hudson remained in contact with Lucasfilm in the more than 20 years since, hoping to get a chance to collaborate again. But a project like this is a huge commitment for everybody involved, so it took the right conditions to get everything lined up, which always seems like, the behind the scenes that people don't talk about enough. To get all these people together to be on board with one specific idea is extremely difficult, and the fact that we're even getting this game is so awesome, and we just got to be, grateful for it, which I indeed am. This year, Hudson co-founded Argonaut Studios. So it's a very, very new studio, and it just got started up this year. So the fact that it got started up this year and gave us this 1.5 minute, insanely visually appealing trailer in just under a year, it's a great sign, It's a great sign. So, continuing. Oh, wrong article. Hang on. There we go. Co-founded Argonaut Studios at the beginning of this year, and the stars began to align. Our goal is developing the kind of game I love making. Emotionally powerful, cinematic adventures driven by player agency, narrative depth, and immersive world building, he says. Conversations between our team and Lucasfilm Games led to an incredible opportunity to return to Star Wars, and once again, we can hardly believe that we are working on such a special project. Which, tell me in the chat, do you think this game will be canon or not? Actually, you know what? Let's put up a poll. Let's put up a poll before we keep reading this. Let's put up the poll. Holy crap. 86% of you are more excited for Fate of the Old Republic than Galactic Racer, which I did see coming, but, I'm more excited for it too. However, I just thought, Galactic Racer's next year. Fate of the Old Republic's probably years and years away. But what are you going to do? Do you think Fate of the Old Republic will be canon? Yes or no? Do you think Fate of the Old Republic will be canon? Yes or no? I'm 100% leaning towards yes. Just because of the way that they're doing this. It's not a continuation of KOTOR. It's a spiritual successor, not a direct successor. It makes all lines are pointing to it, yes, being canon. The only concern I have is that they didn't announce it as a canon Star Wars project, which is weird. So a little bit of confirmation on that would be great, Lucasfilm, if you're watching. But until then, I suppose we don't know. Continuing. Still in the early stages of development and creation, which is also important, early stages, Fate of the Old Republic benefits from decades of creative experience across the collaborative partnership. I've always strived to lead very focused projects with creative clarity and alignment among the team and a crisply organized production plan. Sounds like he's, ready to go. That ultimately is what makes it possible to deliver a game that meets high expectations, but consistently achieving that with large and ambitious projects with ever-increasing demand on scope and complexity has been a lifelong journey of learning and improvement and a personal obsession of mine. It is, already, after only 2 days, the hype level for this game since it was announced is through the roof. So in order to deliver a game that is meeting the expectations of millions and millions of Star Wars fans is going to be extremely difficult to accomplish. However, what he's saying here is that's the goal. That's the lifelong dream of mine, to accomplish that and deliver that to the Star Wars fans, which I think he can do, but only time will tell. As the director, Hudson partners with his team as well as Lucasfilm Games to bring that clear vision to life. Great ideas come from all parts of the team, he says. So my job is to gather and shape a cohesive vision that the entire team contributes to. Can't just be one guy. ensuring that everybody shares that vision and understands their part in creating it. It is crucial to the success of the project. And the newest chapter of the Star Wars gaming history will touch on what Hudson sees as a fundamental pillar of the franchise, such as innovative storytelling, memorable characters, challenging gameplay, and immersive agency in the Star Wars galaxy. Memorable characters is the most important thing in this entire article. That points to Darth Revan, Bastila Shan, Darth Malik, Darth Nihilus, like anybody that you know and love from those old KOTOR games could be in this game, or at least referenced to in this game because of that. Because they've already mentioned twice in this one little article that there will be memorable characters in this game. And it's not like Luke Skywalker showing up because he's not born for another 4,000 years. Or maybe a couple thousand years, whatever it is. He's not born for a long, long time. So you're not going to get any Skywalker saga characters because even Yoda, who lives to 1,000 or 900, is not even around. You're not getting any recognizable faces from the Skywalker saga. Nobody is alive at this point. So the memorable characters you're getting are the ones from the KOTOR games. Now let's take a second before we finish off this article to talk about this character here. Who do you think the girl in the trailer is? What do we think? Is it a descendant of Bastila and Revan? Is it Bastila herself? Or is it a new character? Or is it somebody we know from a different game? What do we think? Nah, Sid will be in there.
Incorrect.
It's my mom.
Incorrect.
A new character.
Incorrect.
Okay, maybe that one's correct. Maybe that one's correct. Yeah. Who do we think this girl is? The thing that is really giving off the fact that it could be Bastila herself, or at least a descendant of her, is the visual similarities. Let me explain. So if you don't know who Bastila is, this is what she looks like. Hang on. Ah, perfect. This is Bastila Shan. Now, it's very hard because this is from the poster of the Knights of the Old Republic game, and obviously it's 22 years ago. Graphics aren't great. In the game, graphics aren't great at all, so it's kind of hard to even tell. But if you look at that, and then you look at this, oops, they do look similar. It's the two strands of hair coming off the side like that Bastila has. Just, that side part thing right there. It's the black hair. It's the somewhat blue eyes that she does have. This is bad lighting. And it's the weird hairdo that she has on the back of her head. This sort of like Rey-esque hairdo that we see in the sequel trilogy. Actually, you kind of see Padme do it, I think, at some point too. But when you get the look at the back of this character, as you see her standing, the silhouette version, actually the thumbnail of this live stream today, this hairdo is screaming Bastila Shan. Now, the fact that it takes place at the end of the Old Republic makes me think it's not Bastila, but a descendant maybe? There's clearly a reason that the resemblance is there, because it's obviously not. It's making you think of the character of Bastila for a reason. Maybe it's not her exactly, or maybe it is, but it could be a descendant. Look at Sadly Shan. All right, let's look at her. Again, I don't really know how to say this girl's name. I looked it up like a million times. It says like Satay Lee Shan, but I don't know. So let's look it up. This is a descendant of Bastila and Revan. She's from the Old Republic game, Star Wars: The Old Republic, and she does look very similar to this character as well. So we're talking about two characters that look very similar to this girl in the trailer, and they are both. You can see that. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. We'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that in a second. So it could be. It could be either Bachelor herself or a descendant of the two. But either way, it's clear that they are connecting to the quote-unquote memorable characters of the Old Republic games, and you will get references to these characters or even maybe see these characters. The fact that it takes place at the end of the Old Republic is the only thing that makes me think you won't see Revan visually, but we don't really even know what that means. The fact that it takes place at the end of the Old Republic era doesn't really mean much at all, because we don't know what the Old Republic timeline looks like in canon. We have no idea. It would be really crazy if we got Darth Bane in this game, because he is the end of the Old Republic, because he is the guy who ends or starts, I should say, the rule of two and ends the reign of the Sith empires, or at least the fighting fighting amongst the Sith, because he makes them only two. Either way, we're in for a treat. There's no reason that they made this character look so similar to Bastila for it not to be a descendant or her herself. That's where I'm at. Now, there is another Easter egg in this trailer that I want to get to. That shout out to the people who love Star Wars. If you're not yet in the Discord, there's a link in the description below. But we have to talk about this. So going back to this trailer, it opens with this ship going through space. And then we see a planet. Now, this planet is the one that she lands on, of course, which is snowy. But the big question was, well, what planet is this? And this is honestly one of my favorite theories out there. And the answer is Lanupa. Does anybody know where Lanupa is from? Does anybody remember the planet of Lanupa? By the way, 90% of you guys right now think that this is going to be a canon game. I hope you're right. I really, really do. Yeah. Baby Darth Bane as a good guy like Grogu is. So you're assuming that Grogu becomes a bad guy? Good point. We've never seen Darth Bane before since he was only in the novels. What do you mean? Oh, Skeleton Crew. Yes. Okay. Skeleton Crew. Lanupa is the planet from Skeleton Crew. In the reasoning for this, the reasoning that I believe, and shout out to the people who love Star Wars, believe that this could be Lanupa, is because of this scene in Skeleton Crew. You're talking thousands of years. Thousands of years before this show takes place. So not only is there Sith writing on the walls, there's snowy mountain ranges like we see in the trailer, but this planet could look completely different in the thousands of years that take place in between these two this show and video game. So the Old Republic era and even like Dawn of the Jedi, which James Mangold is making, they have the opportunity to connect to the Skywalker saga in little ways like this. If that planet that this character is going to in the trailer for Fate of the Old Republic is indeed Lanupa, that just made these writings on the wall, that just made Skeleton Crew in general so much cooler. So much cooler. So I certainly hope that they do little things like this, seeing a planet thousands of years before we see it in the Skywalker saga and how different that planet looks. Maybe some really cool event or battle happened on that planet. So then when we see it in Skeleton Crew, we go, holy crap, that's the same planet where this happened, type deal. Yeah, Sith ruins. Pretty interesting stuff. Sith ruins here. Crashed ship here. Pretty wild. So, Lanupa is a very, very cool theory that I like quite a bit. But there you have it. Let's finish off our article, shall we? Infinite stories to tell. Now that you're going to a different era, thousands of years away from the Skywalker saga, you can do whatever you want. Tell any stories that you want, do anything you want, just in the Star Wars world, in the rules that are within the Force itself, the rules that are within just Star Wars and how things work. You can tell any story that you want. Lucasfilm Games was eager to tell a new story in an era where with lots of possibilities. Star Wars' past is a vast open canvas for creators to explore without having to navigate storytelling touchstones from any other media. Meaning, not KOTOR or KOTOR 2 or the Star Wars Old Republic game. None of that has to be used to tell this story. Yes, they will be using it. They will be taking memorable characters like Revan, like Bastila, etc. But they don't have to, because all of that is legends in this game, as many of you will agree, is likely to be canon. Being set in the past gives us an immense amount of open space to tell new original Star Wars stories, while staying true to the spirit of the galaxy that we all love. There are quite literally infinite stories to tell. While we will always honor and celebrate the core saga, the Skywalker saga, it is crucial to explore new territory, meet new characters, and see new parts of the galaxy. This is what we were so hyped up about 2 years ago when Dawn of the Jedi was announced. This is what everybody gets so hyped up about when we talk about post-sequel content, when we talk about Starfighter, which we'll talk about later today, is the new. The ability to tell new characters, new stories, and not have to be anchored down by the Skywalker name, by the story that came before. And that's what's honestly the most exciting about the Old Republic era. Riley was especially excited to partner with Hudson, given his deep knowledge of both Star Wars storytelling and RPG game creation. We have been keenly aware our fans have been waiting to revisit this player fantasy. That's an acknowledgement right there. Us fans have been begging for Old Republic content for decades. And as we say all the time, Lucasfilm, Disney, they're listening to us. Maybe not currently, but they're listening to us. And when fans beg for something for so long, they're obviously going to see that is happening. So to create a new RPG that lives up to the devotion, lives up to that devotion, was something that we have had to be very careful with. Casey's expertise in crafting deep, long-term storytelling and building immersive, choice-driven worlds is second to none, especially when he made the first one. That's pretty helpful. And we are fortunate to have the game director of one of the most beloved Star Wars games of all time return to the galaxy far, far away. It really blows me away to think that we were part of something that made such a lasting impression, Hudson adds. When we were making KOTOR, we were just focused on making the best game we could and had no idea that it would resonate the way that it did. Seeing the impact it made with players and how that connection has endured for more than 20 years is humbling and inspiring. At the time, they didn't know what they were making. They didn't know what they were getting themselves into. But here we are today. Although the team is mums on the details of the story that they're planning, Fate of the Old Republic will introduce new characters for a all-new story. We are still early in development. early in development, with many challenges ahead, Hudson says. I'm grateful to have enjoyed the support of the KOTOR fans for many years, and I'm looking forward to embarking upon this journey together, sharing more of what we are doing as soon as we can. This to me feels like a game that, as they're doing it, will get like behind the scenes looks type thing, like big updates, probably yearly updates as we get closer and closer to the game. Now, let's talk about that early in development. Let's talk about that release date. Let's talk about the huge elephant in the room with the false reports about this game and when it's coming. So first, let's start with when do you guys think this game will release? When do you think? I actually want to put up a poll. When do you think this game will release? Now, by the way, 91% of you said this game will be canon. When do you think Fate of the Old Republic will release? Your options are going to be definitely not 2026, definitely not 2027, but I'm going to go 2028. Oops. 2028. I think 2027 will still be Jedi 3, but we'll see. 2028, 2029, 2030, and then I'm just going to put beyond as your last option. Beyond. When do you think? 2077. September 20th, 2028. Like you said, 2028 or the end of 2028. Okay. 2030. After the KOTOR 1 and 2 remakes come out. Definitely not that. Definitely not that. We have no idea what's going on with those games. Not a clue. So they're not waiting for that to happen because this is not a continuation of that. It's not a sequel of that story. So they will not be waiting for those games now. But let's talk about the false reports, the quote-unquote fake news. This comes from Jason Schreier. Jason. As he says, last night's biggest surprise, Star Wars Fate of the Old Republic, led by Casey Hudson, who directed KOTOR. Exciting news for a lot of people. But Lucasfilm says the studio was founded this year, which means that 2030 is an optimistic guess. Maybe it will be a PlayStation 7 game. Now, credit to Jason. He never claimed to say that this was a fact. He said optimistic guess, and he said maybe this will be a PlayStation 7 game. So, it's not Jason's fault that people took this and completely ran with it the wrong way. However, this game, let's start here. Yes, the company was founded this year. Yes, it's going to take a long time for them to make this game. However, this report turned into a fact really, really quickly. And now, what should have and was for a little bit a really, really positive, fun time to be a Star Wars fan, great new, cool game, Old Republic in canon, really, really awesome time, turned negative like that. The people who make a lot of money off of crapping on Star Wars and doing it for a living came out with all these different videos and all these different things that went super viral of this game is not coming for a very, very long time. At least 2030, won't be out until the PlayStation 7. All from this guy who said maybe, was making an optimistic guess and just speculating. It became a fact really quick, and it put a big old damper on this announcement. However, it's all fake. It's all false, and it's all just complete hoopla. BS created by Star Wars fans who just want to make everything bad. Want to make everything bad news and a loss for Disney Star Wars. I don't know why. Maybe they make money off of it. A lot of them do. But here's the reality. Here's the facts from the guy who's actually making the game. Not from me, who's just like, yeah, I want it to come as soon as possible. Yeah, make it next year. No, this is coming from Casey Hudson himself. as he had this to say. Hang on. Okay, this is what he said, but there's a full thing of it here. I'll get to it in a second. But Casey Hudson on whether or not this game will release before 2030. The game will be out before then. I'm not getting any younger. Not it could be, not it might be. It will be. 2030 is 4 years from now. It's almost 2026, guys. Okay, 2025 is over. 2030 is 4 years from now. They got 4 years to make this game. Simple as that. And if that's not enough, facts from the director of the game himself, Casey Hudson. Let me just show you something here. So the one fact was it won't release until after 2030. That was the first fake fact that they were throwing out there. The other one was it will release on the PlayStation 7. 7. I don't know if you know, but we're on the PlayStation 5 right now. I don't know if you knew that. The PlayStation 6, let's look it up. When does the PlayStation 6 release? PlayStation 6 has no official release date, but strong rumors indicate that late 2027 or early 2028 release window. Let's do some quick math here. The PlayStation 1 released in 1994-95. The PlayStation 2 released in 2000, 6 years later. The PlayStation 3 came out 6 years later. The PlayStation 4 came out 7 years later. The PlayStation 5 came out 7 years later. So the PlayStation 6 is coming out 7 or 8 years later. So you're telling me that the PlayStation 7 will come out 2 years? At most 3 years after the PlayStation 6? It's almost like common sense and logic goes completely out the window when you want to crap on Star Wars. So for the report that's saying, almost like it's a fact, that this game won't come out until after 2030 and on the PlayStation 7, I have one question. Are you stupid? Casey Hudson said it's coming out before 2030. He's making the game. The PlayStation 7 likely won't come out until, quick maths, 7 years after 2027, 2034 at the earliest. So the delusion has gone to a whole nother level. It's only been 2 days since this game was announced. And immediately they tried to flip it on its head into bad news. This trailer is awesome. This news of us getting canon Old Republic content is incredible. We're getting memorable characters. Revan, Basila, Malik, Nihilus, hopefully. I just want to see Nihilus eat a planet, let's be honest. But fan favorite characters. It's incredible news. It's the news of the year for Star Wars. And immediately gets flipped on its head by fake reports, by false allegations about the game. It's sad. It's just sad. We can't even have good things as Star Wars fans anymore. It's sad. But with that being said, it's been cleared up by the creator of the game himself and by simple second grade, maybe first grade math equations. Simple. There you have it. That's where we're at. I have been seeing this be compared to the KOTOR remake and the fact that we got a trailer for that 4 years ago and we haven't gotten anything from it. Or Star Wars Eclipse. We got a trailer for that 4 years ago and nothing has come from it. It could not be further from the same. Because yes, those games did get trailers and it's been 4 years and we have nothing. I won't argue with you there. We're not playing Star Wars Eclipse. We're not playing KOTOR remake. However, what's very different about this game is the fact that Casey Hudson's involved and he's the one who created the first game. This is something that they are only a brand new studio. This is their only project they're working on. Yeah. I really hope you're right, Michael. I hope I'm right too. And thanks for calling me by my full legal name. Everyone hates on everything nowadays. I don't know when that happened. Like, was this happening before 2002, before I was born? Because, like, has it just always been negative all the time? What's everybody's problem? Is life really that bad? Can't we just be positive sometimes? Why is everything got to be negative and hate all the time? We just got what could be the coolest Star Wars canon video game of all time. The trailer for it. And we got to turn it into bad. I don't know. Just seems like everybody has such a negative outlook on everything. And we can't have nice things. Why can't we have nice things? And even then, when we do get nice things, they can't admit it. We got Andor Season 2 this year. A fucking masterpiece. Excuse my language. A masterpiece. And yet, we can't have nice things. You know, Disney Star Wars sucks, of course. You know, Andor sucks. The Mandalorian sucks. Rogue One sucks. Jedi Fallen Order, Survivor sucks. Battlefront 2 sucks. Tales of the Jedi sucks. The Bad Batch sucks. Clone Wars Season 7 sucks. Oh, wait, what's the same thing about all those different projects? They came out under Disney Star Wars reign. Sure, you might not like the sequels, and maybe you have some points there. But we can't have nice things. Okay. Sorry, got a little excited there, but it's really frustrating when we got something so cool like the announcement for Fate of the Old Republic, and the headlines are, this game's not coming out until after 2030. This game's coming out on the PlayStation 7, when it's just not true. It's just not true. Yeah. We got Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew is incredible. Skeleton Crew is 100% the most. That's kind of hard to say. I was gonna say the most underrated Star Wars project there is. It's tough. It might be Star Wars Rebels. I don't know. It's definitely the most underrated show of the year. That's for sure. Indeed. You guys are insane. This channel is a nice thing. I hope so. That was sort of, I've mentioned this 1,000 times before, but the reason I made this channel in the first place was to create a place where there was a positive space for Star Wars fans, where we can celebrate 2 Star Wars trailers for 2 brand new Star Wars games, one coming out next year, one coming out before 2030, and not on the PlayStation 7, and where we can just have fun and speculate and break it down and just have a blast. And that was the goal with this channel. I think we've successfully, have been successful so far. We're still in the early days of this channel, but we've been successful thus far. And we've created this incredible community with all of you guys where we can talk about the positive side of Star Wars. It's just very frustrating when there's thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of Star Wars fans that are just getting fake news. Like, there are thousands of people that woke up today thinking that this game won't come out for the next 6 years at least, and will be on the PlayStation 7, which sounds like a fake thing. Doesn't sound real because we're on the PlayStation 5. And those people are just being fed false information, and they think it's true. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault at all. I read stuff online all the time that I think is real, and then I find out later that it's fake. Yeah. So there's that. Let's talk about Star Wars Starfighter, shall we? Okay. So we can come back to the Fate of the Old Republic in a second, and we'll do all that. But we got to talk about this Starfighter stuff because Matt Smith was just on This Morning, a morning show, and he revealed a few things. One, he's done filming for Starfighter, which is crazy because we just talked about a couple weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, that he wasn't filming Starfighter until December. It's December 13th. Check your watch. I don't wear watches. Check your watch. It's December 13th. He filmed for less than 2 weeks. So clearly Matt Smith's character is not have a big role in it. However, he is playing the villain along with Mia Goth. So I assume he's going to be the overarching villain, the new big bad, the new Palpatine, if he's going to be a Sith Lord. I don't even know. He's going to be the new big bad because he's barely even in the movie. I think what we're seeing here is a Mia Goth is Darth Vader. It's The Empire Strikes Back. Mia Goth is Darth Vader. Matt Smith is the Emperor, and he only shows up for a scene, or maybe two. Or maybe it's like Return of the Jedi. Mia Goth is still Darth Vader, and Matt Smith is the Emperor. He just has a smaller role, but he's still the main villain. That's what I'm getting from this. But let's hear it from himself, because we also get a visual as to what his character may look like. So let's take a look at this. There is your new big bad in Star Wars. That's not really a great picture of him. So he confirms a few things. One, he's not playing a prosthetic alien. I guess he could still be playing an alien if they paint his face. Like he could be like, somebody said Thrawn's son. I don't know if he'll play Thrawn's son, but he could be painted blue. Like that could be an option. He's not going to have like you can't see his face alien makeup on. So he's at least somewhat human because his haircut matters. So he has this haircut because of the movie. He goes on to talk about, of course, Ryan Gosling and how great he is, and Sean Levy and how great he is. All that we already knew. But the fact that this is what his character is going to look like, maybe his skin is a different color, maybe it's not. He could just be a human in this movie. Tell me in the chat, first and foremost, who do you think he's playing? I think he'll be a new character, but is he a Sith Lord? Is he a bounty hunter? Palpatine was just vanquished. The evil has been destroyed at the end of The Rise of Skywalker. This is 5 years later. Is he a Sith? And the Sith are back? Because Palpatine was all the Jedi. Are they back again? Right like that? Because from what we know of the plot of Starfighter, he and Mia Goth's characters are hunting down this Force-sensitive child, played by Flynn Gray. And Ryan Gosling has to protect that kid from these people. So it sounds like the villain is at least more than one guy, because it's Mia Goth and Matt Smith. So it could be an army of sorts. I see the Yuzhan Vong has been brought up in the chat already. The Yuzhan Vong I would love, or even the Grisk would be great too. If Thrawn comes into the Mandoverse and starts warning them about the Grisk, which he's been warning the Emperor about the Grisk since the early days of the Empire. If he comes in and starts warning them about the Grisk, and the Grisk don't come, and then it's not until after the sequels when the Grisk come, then you could have him be the leader of them. You could have Mia Goth be some sort of 5-star general type deal. When it comes to the Grisk, we haven't really gotten a good look at them yet. There's sort of a comic that gives us a sneak peek, like they're just gray, like their faces are just gray, but they're not really alien looking. Like they could just paint him gray. Either way, they're using his real hair. That's very, very important. Because he's either human or he's painted, but he's not this crazy type of alien. And his role in the movie is so small. He only filmed for a couple days at most, like a couple weeks at most. Listen,
Today, and so
I finished a film yesterday. This interview is from today, from yesterday. So he finished filming 2 days ago on December 11th. Another reason why December 11th is a great day for Star Wars fans. That means he was only on set for a couple weeks. So his role can't be that big. It also says that funny little thing in the front is on purpose. Why is that? I don't know.
A little bit at the front, but you know.
Do any characters in Star Wars have this weird sort of haircut where it comes to a point at the front? Because he says like that's on purpose. That's there for a reason. I think it's got legs. It's a Star Wars movie. So does anybody have that haircut that we know of in Star Wars? That haircut equals villain, definitely. Darth Trim. Darth Trim is awesome. Oh, that's him in House of the Dragon. Sorry. Trying to get it closer. That. Does anybody have this? He says that's on purpose. That coming to a point, sort of weird haircut in the middle there. Let's take a look at Thrawn's haircut. Or just the Chiss in general. Oh, Chiss, Star Wars. I just put in Chiss and it was like, do you mean Chris? Chris is a popular boy name. No, I don't mean Chris. I mean, not really. Like this is a Chiss. Nowhere in here would it be that he has to have his hair like that. You know? Thrawn's hair is not like coming to a point and it's sort of pushed back. What about I was thinking Darth Krayt. You know, it's where my mind went to first. But Darth Krayt's hair is, again, sort of slicked back. Mm. Can't think of anybody. Count Dooku's great-great-grandson? I don't think so. Is Dash Rendar's hair like that? Again, not really. Not really at all. His hair is actually more like young Han Solo there. Yeah, Dash, not so much either. I don't know. Hang on, let's look up the Grisk. It would be really, really cool if Star Wars was that connected in the future where you're getting, let me specify Star Wars, where you're getting the Mandoverse bad guy is Thrawn, and he's warning you about the Grisk. The Grisk have been around sort of since, I suppose they've been around since before the original trilogy. Well, they've been around for a long time, but they've been a threat since before the original trilogy. And Thrawn is warning you, warning you, warning you. You're like, nah, we're good. And then in a post-sequel world, they become the threat. Yeah, this is the only real look that we have so far at the Grisk. And it's from a comic. I mean, that could look like anything. In live action, that could look like anything. Oh, no. This right here is the most, I suppose, the most it could look like that haircut. Look up the Vong. Yeah, I don't think he's looking like the Yuzon Vong in this. Like, this is the Yuzon Vong. A little bit different of a hairstyle, if you ask me. Just a little bit. It's a real risk to underestimate these mofos, I guess. Yeah, I mean, Thrawn is such a genius that if he's warning the Emperor and he's warning people about the Grisk, then you probably should take him seriously. Plus, you have to think, what threat would be a big enough one after Palpatine's death? Palpatine is the villain, the greatest villain of all time. People say it's Vader, but Vader, you know, he's only a villain for so long. Palpatine constructs an entire galaxy-wide war where he's the leader of both sides. He rules the entire galaxy for over 20 years. He has a contingency plan to live forever. That's your genius. That's your crazy Sith Lord, awesome bad guy. Now, to replace that, or to have the next villain come in, he's going to have to be pretty badass. Thrawn warns of the Grisk, and then the Grisk are the herald of the Yuzon Vong. I don't know if the Grisk and the Vong will be related in any sort of way, but maybe. Possibly. I think the Grisk are more so a canon version of the Vong. That's how at least I see it. So from what we learn of Matt Smith is that, one, he's done filming. Doesn't mean the movie is done filming, but he is done filming. This haircut will be his character's haircut. And that he was only on set for a couple weeks. Meaning his character, although he is a villain, and maybe even the main villain, is not that important. What it sounds to me is that Mia Goth is going to be our main villain. Yeah. I remember the Yuzhan Vong were supposed to canonically appear in the last season of the Clone Wars, but Disney came in and changed their minds. Yeah, but why would they change that? You know? Were they saving it for something later? Were they maybe wanting to go a different route with the Grisk? So is Starfighter just Mando without the Mandos? What? No. Oh, you mean because it's like a father-son type thing? Or I guess a guy who happens upon a struggling child? I guess in that way, yes. A sort of father-son mentor type thing. Yeah. In terms of the villains, though, no. Moff Gideon is an ex-Imperial, or I guess still an Imperial. But we don't know what this villain's going to be. We know he's going to look like that, but we don't know what he's going to be. But tell me in the chat right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for Starfighter? I feel like the hype for Starfighter is unusually high. Maybe it's because of the cast. Maybe because it's a post-sequel story, brand new characters, unconnected. Maybe it's because it's Sean Levy, Ryan Gosling. But tell me in the chat, how excited are you for this movie? For this movie. I think Disney's too scared to touch the Vong considering their philosophy and look. I mean, it would be very difficult to create these characters in live action. Honestly, this would be extremely difficult to pull off. This, I don't even know what that looks like. Maybe not so much. But this, that's difficult. You got to think about it. Their entire army is based off, their weapons are biological ones. Like this. Their ships are biological ones. Like they're created by living things. So I guess the Purgle, to an extent, are almost pretty much a canon version of what their ships would have been, in a way. Yeah, but look at the hype level in the chat. 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 10, 9, 21. Okay, out of 10. I'm more excited for Starfighter than I am for The Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm not at that level yet. I'm more excited for The Mandalorian and Grogu because I'm hoping it's the beginning of a trilogy, and I'm a big Mando and Grogu fan. Starfighter doesn't have enough for me yet. Mia Goth bumps it up to an 8. Okay. Okay. The cast is loaded. Love me some Amy Adams. Love me some Matt Smith. Even Ryan Gosling. But we just don't know don't know enough about the story for me to be that excited, you know? But can I get some good cups follow orders in the chat, please? Bumpa. $69 out of 10. Nice. Nice. Yeah. The new Supergirl trailer? Yeah, I saw it. You know, not too excited. I just don't know much about it. Like, Supergirl is a character I've never really been, like, gotten into. And the trailer didn't really do much. Didn't do much at all. So, there's that. Don't forget about Amy Jade. Yeah, Mara Jade. How could I? All right, let's... There was just so much to get to today. We did get to the majority of it, I suppose. But as I mentioned before, December 11th will go down as the greatest, or one of the greatest, days for Star Wars news of all time. A prequel story for Maul Shadow Lord, Shadow of Maul. 2 announcements and trailers for Star Wars video games. And Disney investing $1 billion into OpenAI. which is absolutely insane. But let's get back to this for a second. Let's get back to the trailers. Take a look at this. Star Wars video games that are officially in development. In order of release, at least I think in order of release. Zero Company comes out next year. Galactic Racer comes out next year. Eclipse, we have no idea. None. Jedi 3 could come out in 2027, if I were to guess. KOTOR Remake, no idea. Like, we haven't gotten an update on that in forever. FOTOR, or Fate of the Old Republic, we don't know when it comes out, but at least before 2030, according to the game's creator. I forgot about this one until I read this list earlier today. Skydance New Media Video Game. This was announced, was it at Star Wars Celebration? It was around that time that Skydance was getting a Star Wars video game. We don't know much about it, but that's there. And then the digital card game that was announced a couple days ago by Star Wars, or by Lucasfilm themselves, by 03836 Studios and CCG. There's that. So of this list, as the tweet does say, which one are you most excited for? Of this list of games, from the KOTOR remake, to the Jedi 3, to the Fate of the Old Republic, to Eclipse, and everything in between, what are you most excited for of this entire list? Mike, is that a good cup? I've been saying, I said that one time a few months ago, but is that the thing you've been saying for a while? Yeah. Good cups, follow orders. And we've been doing this for years now. This is just the second one. I see the KOTOR remakes as being prequels to the Fate of the Old Republic, like how Modern Warfare was to Infinity War. Interesting. I kind of like that. I don't know. Because two different studios are making the two different games, it's hard to tell. Yeah. Mike, when are we getting some Mike merch? I want a Good Cups Full of Orders t-shirt. Oh, very soon. We'll put it at that. We already got some concept designs and all this other stuff, but yeah, we're working on it. Is the Skydance the open world game? I think so. When it was announced, it was said something like that. Yeah, open world or whatever. Jedi 3, FOTOR. Yeah. Of course, I want to see the end of the Cal Kestis story, so Jedi 3 is very high for me, but that trailer just got me going. It got me into more of a deep dive into the Old Republic era with what possibilities of stories could this be and all these different memorable characters that could appear. This is at the top of my list. It's shot way up to the top of my list. Now, in order, I'd probably say that, then Jedi 3, then Galactic Racer. I'm very high on that game, especially because we know it's coming and we know it's coming next year. Like, Eclipse would be a lot higher if I knew it was coming, but I don't. So then that, then probably the KOTOR remake, then Eclipse, then this. I don't even know what this digital card game is, but Zero Company's at the bottom. I'm not into that type of game, the turn-based tactic games, so I'm not really that excited for it. But yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a longer stream today because we got 2 trailers. Like, we're talking about 2 new Star Wars games, one coming out next year, one coming out in the next 4 years. It's exciting times. So I think we should end the stream by watching the trailers. Should we do it again? Run the trailers back? Let's watch them back to back. Let's just get hyped up and watch 2 incredible trailers back to back. Why not? It did just pass 1.9 million views, too. 1.9 million views for a Star Wars trailer in its first day and a half, or 2 days almost. That's crazy. All right, which one should we start with? The Galactic Racer and save the best for last? I agree. Okay.
I want it back. The way it was before the Empire shut it down. Massive engines. Lightning fast. Lives on the line. The pilots were incredible! Best of the best! United
the hearts.
by one beautiful dream!
Hang on, pause. Like, look at this scene for a sec. That's a speeder from Endor, or at least a modified one from Endor. That looks like Luke's speeder from A New Hope, but so again, modified. That kind of looks like the Solo one, maybe. This looks like the Rey one a little bit that she rides on in The Force Awakens. I don't really know what that looks like over there, but none of them are pod racers, and they're all completely different with their own unique designs. I think this is a fully customizable game. Like, you can customize your ship, you can customize your character, and we're getting multiplayer.
The galaxy needs racing!
Like, the fact that if you crash, your ship just blows up is awesome. I don't really know how it's going to work. Like, how could you possibly catch up in a multiplayer lobby if your car blows up or your speeder blows up? But that's so cool. I'm loving the beard, too. You know, Saboba doesn't have the beard. He looks like Master Shifu. But going back to this, the coolest part is that they're starting with Jakku. Well, and Ando Prime. But they're starting with Jakku. So, like, this is visually one of the coolest places you could have a pod race in. I don't know what the new maps would be if they added more to it. I mean, obviously Tatooine, because that's the iconic one from episode 1. But pod racing through... I'm trying to think of like another battlescape. Like pod racing through... I don't even know. Where would you pod race to? Endor would be cool, just through the trees. That would be awesome. And the Ewok huts and stuff. That would be cool. I don't know. Really can't think of any off the top of my head. Camino would be cool, but I mean, it's just water. I don't know. You guys tell me. But that's why they're starting with Jakku, because just from a visual perspective, it looks awesome. And then let's watch the Knights of the Old Republic trailer. Let's do it. Why not? Why not? Gonna close in on 2 million streams by the end of the day today. Geonosis would be a good one too. Geonosis would be great. Mustafar would be awesome. Like right, that looks like Lanupa. These snowy mountaintops. I don't know the first thing about creating a video game. Like nothing. How the hell do they do that? That looks so freaking good. Coruscant would be awesome. have also been saying how that looks like a sort of a Sith fighter, which would indicate, yes, this could be Malik's ship. What's also strange to me is what's in this ship and what she's looking for. Because she's there with one other looks to be living being and a droid. But there's this creature that you can see its arm sort of go up there. Kind of sounds like a Rathtar a little bit. But why is she there? Like, why is she looking for it? So good. Okay, but there you have it. 2 brand new Star Wars video games. One coming next year, one coming before 2030, as Casey Hudson has assured us. Not on the PlayStation 7, as Casey Hudson has assured us. So there's that. And Matt Smith is going to look like this, or at least his hair is going to look like this, in Star Wars Star Fighter. Exciting times. Very, very exciting times to be a Star Wars fan, that's for damn sure. And within the next month or two, we're going to be getting Maul Shadow Lord trailers. We're going to be getting all this crazy greatness of 2026, which is going to just be a jam-packed year for Star Wars content. But until then, smash a freaking like in this stream if you have not already. Hit that subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified every time I post a video, and my pretty face will show up in the recommended feed of yours. I'm sure we'll be talking about these trailers for a very long time, especially because Fate of the Old Republic is in early development, so we'll have this to go off of for a very long time. But until then, until we have time to talk about get more of these trailers and a release date for this Galactic Racer, we'll have plenty other Star Wars news to talk about, I'm sure. But until then, smash a freaking like in the stream, of course, and watch out for a short in about an hour. And yeah, go check out the breakdown video if you have not already that I did yesterday. Took me quite a long time, and I was up really late doing it, so I appreciate it. And may the Force be with you. Always. Oh yeah, what a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so much more than you'll ever know. I mean, I'm hype. I'm not letting this stupid false reports get me down. I'm hype. I'm hyped, and I know a lot of you guys are too. Oh, wait, let me end this poll. Hang on. Let's end this poll. So 40% of you guys, the most, when do you think this FOTOR game will be released? 41% say 2028, 21% say 2029, 21% say 2030, and 17% say beyond. I'll take 2028 all day long. If we get Galactic Racer next year and Jedi 3 the following year in 2027, and then this game in 2028, whew, what a great time to be a Star Wars fan. But until then, keep the conversation going in the Discord. There's a link in the description below. And yeah. Hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives, and good night, everybody.